Hi, everybody. Welcome to our seminar here. We are going to talk about powering ITSM innovation with AI. We have been working a lot with this content, and I hope that you like the presentation that we produced to you. First of all, let's presentation ourselves. To presentate ourselves, that's me. My name is Cesar Monteiro. I put here my Instagram and my LinkedIn. And by the way, I'm in charge of translation of Portuguese for IT4, and I have a degree in business development management here. That's why we are always involved in something related with AI because it fits what we really do, what we really does. And with me and together we are going to do this presentation. I have Fernando, and hi Fernando, how are you?
Hi, Cesar. Hi, you all. Hope you're enjoying what we're here to show you. I'm Fernando Baldwin. Not I'm not related to Alec Baldwin from Hollywood. This time only without the W. So I'm country manager of Automation Edge. We are an RPA and AI company. I'm also part of HDI Advisory Board, which is a group of HDI like we have in other parts of the world. I'm an IT expert. Actually, this man here said that was my teacher. Sometimes 1 or 2 years, maybe a little bit more, a lot more years ago. And also have a lot of books regarding innovation, services, IT services, and the usage of services to improve corporate operations and processes. So it's nice to be with you guys. You have my LinkedIn here. Any connection further you think would be interesting, just click on LinkedIn. We'll connect. Hope to see you guys there as well.
Okay. Well, the subject that we choose is related with what we are doing today in our lives. I've been involved with ITSM and with Fernando that has been used his competence and becoming a specialist in AI. And let's talk about what really matters. What is artificial intelligence in IT? What's gonna happen? We are been doing some seminars, and for us, it's a surprise that people doesn't know so good the potential that we have been doing with this. So when we are talking about ITSM, uh, you always be related with something, making something using better our resources, maybe improving our decision making, maybe talking about this availability, capacity, whatever, predictions. So, which decisions should I do? Um, that is something that you need to study. You need to understand what your infrastructure means about, and everybody relates AI mostly because RPA to self-service that make a revolution. This it's a case. Another thing is if we are trying to do better with the resources that we have, how we proactively improve the services is something that AI can help us. And then, and not the last one, but the least, that is very important, how to improve the one that pay the experience with the customer and with the user that uses the services. That's what we are thinking about. That's really matters what you're going to do with this. So using AI on ITSM is based on this. And if you are going to think about, there is some benefits on this. It's related with better services. If I'm going to reduce cost or effort, I'm expecting fast time to insight to have the result. As I said before, better user experience, continuous improvement, and help me to be more proficient, more efficient, more solid on my IT environment. But nothing so perfect. We are still suffer with some challenges. I think that the people, where when they see the dark, like my background here, where they are always afraid of something. First, I will never understand this. It's something new. I've never seen this before. It's not a new challenge. How can I use this? Or people are afraid of being replaced, or it's like a competition. Somebody will know, another group you don't know so much. And more than this, things are so good. Why we need to change? So the challenge is it's quite the same. When you introduce something new, that are the overall challenges that you have. But what we can see here is that in this case, if you are not going to do something with AI, your user going to do. Your customer, you demand this, and they are thinking about like using extra effort to helping them to work. Those users, those customers, you never think about in IT. They think about their jobs. And when we are from IT, like Fernando and I, we are thinking how we can help IT goes better. And it's not supposed that the user going to tell me that. And let's talk about one part of this AI generative. So, Fernando?
One thing I always like to talk about people when we're talking about innovation, especially in IT, is that they must understand that innovation won't come from a product. It won't come solely from people. It's the interrelation between people, process, and products that used together can enhance and bring new experience to your customers. So it's very important to have this holistic view of your operations. So I always tell, don't think you're going to buy something, an API, a product, and all your problems will be solved. Or you're going to hire someone, or you're going to do some new process. So think of it as a holistic approach. So that's very important for us to go from where we are now, from adding AI to our operations. Go on, Cesar.
What I like to tell to all you is that Gartner already compiled the 10 common mistakes in automation. And you need to be careful when you are dealing with something new. And we can just read this and see how many situations that you have here tends to provide difficulties in your path to some kind of success. First, there is no way for you to adopt AI as a single technology. That you need to combine. Fernando, we're gonna use and give you some clues about this in the presentation. Second, don't believe that business can automate without IT. You need to use IT because if you don't do so, you're just going to automate what you're doing by you, not by the company. When things goes is spreading out in the company, it's a thing that must have a kind of coordination. The automation it's not always the solution. Maybe is the final situation. As soon as you make things clear or easier, and another thing that people are misunderstanding, it's not your own initiative. You need to have some a stakeholder that provides effort and money, and you bet in your mistakes, and you collect with you the success of this. And again, things that relate with IT, putting something on production without testing, or trying to complicate things, or automate things that is seems to be simple, but people put a lot and try to automate everything. And even though the eight failing to monitor post production, not just is automated, but it's not working alone. That when you don't have metrics, you're not so. How can you show how good was your project? And the last one that's very important. You're not supposed to ignore the culture. That's the maybe the word the most difficult barrier to cross over. If you don't sell the idea to the company, you will always be a challenge with the in the challenge.
So the question, what is generative AI? It's been widely uh, asked and responded by many people around the industry right now. But what we're going to talk here is just to give a general overview. So generative AI is the capability of these models to create content. Sometimes it's a text, sometimes it's images, music, or any other content. So that's the big difference between what we had prior to November 22. So that's something that would change a little bit the game for us, especially for us in the services industry. And what we see now is we see these large language models, right? Which are algorithms that are trained to, I think understanding is a very tricky word to say, but they're able to tokenize. So they make your sentence into some mathematical model and they're able to predict what is the next word that is relevant to this context. And these neural networks, they are very current on their response, but there are also one thing you must understand is that this artificial intelligence has nothing of artificial because everything was built, was labeled by humans. And there's no intelligence there. Everything was pre-created by humans. So it only does what this model was trained to do by who? By a person. So that's a good thing we must have in mind in order to use it properly. So they do not think. They only use a statistical way of responding to words. And one way that we must understand these LLMs in general is that, like any other technology, they have their own language. I know sometimes when you use them, it seems like we're talking with a person, right? Turing tests being solved all the time nowadays. But actually, they have some language. Like any other technology, there's a language they use, which in this situation is called prompts. But those prompts that we're going to talk a little bit more here, they are very open book for you, right? You can create, you can imagine many things. But one thing you cannot avoid to provide them is context. So this is something different. And that is something where the game has changed a little bit when you talk about, for example, a search engine. If you ask the search engine, Google, who is my father? Probably it won't be able to answer you because it doesn't have your context. So that's the point of what we're talking here. Instead, you have this LLM algorithm for you that is eager for context. And with that context, and more context, it can do a lot of very cool things for you in your AI ITSM environment. So now we're going to learn a little bit more. What is this language of this prompt language? There are many ways of doing this. We have gathered here one of the ways of doing so that we think is very relevant for, especially to use in an ITSM environment. So first of all, every prompt has to start with a role. So who do you want this LLM? We're going to use the ChatGPT here, but it could be either Claude, whatever. We're going to talk a bit of others on our presentation. So you put him in a role that can help you. It could be an expert in a matter. It could be a celebrity. It could be someone you think would be worth bringing to discussion of something in your company. And then you create this context. For example, here in our prompt, we're going to say, ChatGPT, please act as a service management expert with 20 years of experience, with deep knowledge of I2 and many other libraries. So you see, we're setting the context of how we want them to approach the question we're going to bring to them. Then we go for the request.
And that's make the difference. When you see, when you define yourself, you can do whatever you want. And then you see that the answers are going to be related with this role, isn't it?
Perfectly. It really helps and changes a lot. The role is a very crucial part of your prompting, especially in ITSM, AI for ITSM. Go for the, yes. Then we're going to tell him what we want the model to do for us. In this case, we are attaching a column from our ticket system with the past 6 months of categorized and types and all the categorization you might have in your operation. And you're going to tell him to find you insights and improvements that can help your operation to evolve. So, and we are also adding this, look for innovative and creative ways to impact the user experience. You see, we're setting the tone of how you want the model to behave. Go for examples, please. Then we add what we call it examples. It could be example could be something the innovations you're expecting in a certain structure. In this case, we were more in the sense of look, I want you to do improvements, but please, I want you to focus on user waiting time reduction, process automation. So kind of set the tone also to where, because when you talk about let's innovate, it's a very wide idea, very broad, wide idea. But when you say, look, I want to innovate, but in this specific point, or bring these ideas inside this context and provide you with the data. So this is where you kind of set the tone as well for the ideas you want him to look in that data we have provided. And then the settings is sort of, when you have settings in a system, right? You set how the system will behave. And this part of the prompt is sort of when we kind of say, look, I want you to keep in mind that we do not increase the team, or we cannot invest in any other software, or we can invest. So you kind of do the settings like you do, for example, in an operational system, when you set the font or icons and all that. So the settings is how they are going to behave in this environment. And the output is also interesting. Sometimes you might want it to write a Excel sheet for you with the ideas. In this situation, we have suggested a gravity, urgency, and trend format for us to make it easier to bring to our team. Sometimes you'd like it to show a Word document. So think about the types. It could be we're going to talk about this afterwards, but maybe it could be what we call a mark map, which you can create this mind map in a very easy way out of the ChatGPT output. So it's where will be easier for you to work with all the information it's going to provide for you. And then some additional tips. Of course, this is an endless list, but I always like to add some further tips, something like, if you have any questions about the data I'm providing, ask me so I can clarify. I also like to add many times to explain your way of reasoning. You kind of tell them, look, I want you to kind of lay down how you were thinking about these ideas or why you're coming to this conclusion. One thing I really like to play around with is this one with don't act like an AI, be creative and bold. So many other forms of kind of pushing your AI support more creatively or to a more standard approach. And also remember, right, ChatGPT needs context and organization. When we say ChatGPT is not Google, it's because in Google, sometimes when you search, it's just a single line, right? Sometimes you would some plus signs here and there, but that's it. But on ChatGPT, the order of how your prompt is organized makes a lot of difference. So you have to add your prompt. Sometimes you have to define, go for these steps. 1, analyze all the data. And number 2, you do some enters there. 2, after analyzing, look for insights. So that organization is very important. It helps the model to do properly what you're asking and be more effective. For example, here we kind of created our sort of a prompt here. So in this case, we asked the model to work as an expert with 20 years of experience, with depth knowledge in ITU and COVID. Then we request was to analyze an attached call log containing last 6 months of categorized data of our operations and look for insights. Then we asked them to look for improvements that could generate reduction in our user waiting time, find some process automation opportunities, and sometimes eliminate possible points of dissatisfaction. Then we told him, look, keep in mind that we will not increase the team or make any investments immediately. Afterwards, we asked him to write a table with those suggestions in a GUT format. And I did those extra. If we could share, let me share here just a bit the ChatGPT So this is our prompt here, right? The one we built together. So you see, of course, I have added the data there, which was a CSV file you can extract from all of your ITSM solutions. And with that, two things you can do. First of all, it did look for insights, and if you check the insights it provided, was very close to what we were looking for. So this is the table we talked about. So it was looking for, suggested some automation. It suggested some look for SC3 incidents that we should look for because of the mean time of resolution. So you see, you can never get something ready or ready to go out of a model, but you can get something that you can work on much easier if you had to do all the jobs yourself. So that's the big point. It's about co-creation, a new form of work. It's not about doing what we used to do faster. It's about co-creating a new form of working. And afterwards, I even asked to create some graphs out of the volume here. I could sometimes, if I want, I could do some zoom in here and there for some data. But anyways, another thing we can do, we can talk with the data, right? We can talk about the things he was showing. So you see, very easy way to do a monthly, for example, report for your operation, and if you bring some insights. So that's it, how we saw on ChatGPT, how we can use this prompt.
And if I understand, is not supposed just to type. You can use an API and then produce this kind of reports regularly, isn't it?
Exactly. That's how to use those large language models inside your operation. You're going to use an API for that. You have to structure the architecture a little bit different of human usage of ChatGPT.
Okay, let's talk so about real-world prototyping, Fernando. And what about the competitors?
It's the LLM market. It's quite a market and quite a very interesting one to follow up in these recent days. So nowadays, we brought here, of course, there are many others, but we brought here the ones that are available in an easier way. Let's put it this way. So we have Claude, which is from Anthropic, ChatGPT, which is from OpenAI, Mistral, which is in open source as well, Gemini, also from Google. So you see, those are a bit of comparative between those LLMs. So you can see they have different context windows, which is the size of the input you can use. Each one of them has some good and strengths and things that you can, sometimes it's better want to use on your operation. Sometimes it's other. The only way to know it is to test them out and see which ones suits your operation the better.
What makes me another question? It seems that everyone has a price. So depending on in what you are going to automatize, then I have a better prices. And it's so far the price. It's far from one to the other depending on the situation.
They're really close to each other. I mean, we are seeing that normally, especially when we're talking about personal usage, we're talking about around 20. There's $20 per month, but there's also open source such as from Llama, from Meta, which requires a little bit more of technical knowledge to use it, to set it up. But it's also an option. You should look for it as well. So cost and value, they go together. It's up to you to decide which one is the best for you.
And depending which kind of work you're going to use with. So depending on the situation, that's a choice.
Exactly.
Okay. What happened, Fernando, what happened if I'm using the same prompt in different services?
Yeah, we did that. We asked for the models to create a specific contact for ITSM with AI, right? And you can see they had the same prompt, exactly the same prompt. And you can see how they go in the different directions. For Claude, it's very well structured, the response and the hashtags and all that. ChatGPT as well, but didn't bring any hashtag to it. Mistral, you can see, was more of a minimalist approach, like a smaller but bring the hashtag. And Gemini even brought some different approach. But remember the same prompt, and Gemini brought us like two different posts we could do for that. So you can see how they think. And even if we prompt them right away, the same prompt, they will bring totally different answers to us. So that's a challenge when we're talking about ITSM and AI, right? How do we control that answer so we can know that our customer is having the best experience? That's one of the great challenges of using LLM in ITSM operations. But there are ways of doing that. We can see that in so many applications nowadays, like Alexa, Siri, Google Assistant, all of those guys. Chatbots have been improved a lot since starting using LLM as their base model for conversation. Grammar, writing assistants. I always say that I used to work for an IT operation company and for more than 20 years. And I always tell them, like, sometimes we had done a wonderful job solving the customer ticket, but the last email were so poor on grammar that it destroyed everything we did, right? So this grammar, it can help your technician to have a good communication, to arrange the tone, have a grammar correct, and summarize the content as well. And also the translation, the multilingual support becomes something really, really, I never say easier in IT services. I don't like this word, but much more feasible than in 1 or 2 years behind in the past, how we had to do that. So those are some of the areas LLM is touching and changing a lot.
But what we can do related with cooperative processes? What are the best way?
And it's one of the key aspects. We talk about LLM a lot, but it's more like this little assistant for me, for my activities, not for the corporate, not for the company. And when we use AI for corporate processes, one thing you must be aware of, most of the time is going to be something autonomous. So it has to be something that no user has interaction with. I mean, the architecture of it. I cannot have someone prompting back and forth to ChatGPT to reply for a customer, right? It has to be something embedded. We gotta have governance. So I'm using a specific LLM. How am I going to control the quality of their answers? How am I going to know when it's time to change? So you gotta have some quality control over the LLM. It's not because you have automated, you can just get rid of control, get rid of quality control specifically on this. The KPIs you have to monitor, they differ. You see, not just because you're doing something faster doesn't mean that process is the best process for the customer. I always tell that, look your services from outside. Are we improving the customer experience? Do we have the data to back that up? That we're saying, we are improving. Oh, okay, based on what data are you saying that? People start to not be able to answer that. So be aware of that. The architecture, you must think about trigger-based operations. ITSMs are all about trigger-based, right? When a customer opens a ticket, that's a trigger right there. So there's something going on. This is the event. We know that is going on. Doesn't necessarily mean that it started at that moment. So how you can trigger those triggers in your operation that can start up some AI support, some AI communication with the customer to enhance its experience. And log. Your AI is not a god. You have to log it somewhere. Everything. Every time an AI is doing something for you, where do you control it? Where do you put the answers there, replying to the customer? It cannot have like 100 logs that do different things. Have a centralized log. And every time they do something, create this unique ID. I always tell people that when you bring someone new to your operation, what do? You get really close to the person and you watch it very closely. AI is no different. Watch it closely, log everything. So that's all the governance that is required for AI to be incorporated in your ITSM processes.
Okay. And what about the architecture in this world?
One thing I always like to tell people is that think about the LLM as a new configuration item in your CMDB. Think of it. Think a little bit. It's my new configuration CI in my services infrastructure. The algorithms I'm starting to use, they have to be part of the CMDB. Otherwise, how am I going to control it? So how did you do the architecture? Once you know that, it's going to be something of my CMDB, perfect. But the communication, it has to be something. Normally, this is the standard architecture for AI to be incorporated. You have the events. It could be a new ticket. It could be a new event. It could be some new problem that triggers a sequence of activities. And also have in mind, you remember what Cesar told at the beginning, do not fall in love. Don't use only one LLM. Don't fall in love with ChatGPT or Claude, whatever. Sometimes for problem management, Claude is better. Sometimes for customer reply, ChatGPT is better. So you've got to have an API orchestration between triggers and LLMs that will do the logging, the control, and all that. And what we see nowadays is that all these new technologies that we can use, we're going to talk a little bit about some, they're all LLM based. So once you understand how those guys are able to change your IT services operation, you can create yourself new forms of operating, new forms of doing your processes. For example, I'm going to give some tips of things I use a lot on some technologies that are created based on this LLM. Cesar, go on for the next slide, please. For example, I really like this Chrome extension. It does summarize. There's a 2-hour video, right? I don't know if I want to watch it. So this Chrome extension, it can summarize any YouTube video for you. Then it brings you the topics. Then you read the topics and say, look, it makes sense. I'm going to watch it. It's never going to be the same as watching a video, right? But it helps you to kind of filter the videos that are worth for you or not. So that's something I use very often. Another one that I use a lot is the image generation. This one is from Ideogram. There are many out there. So you see, I have created those two images. So we have Wolverine and Deadpool on our service desk. So you can enhance your operation. You can enhance your communication skills with your customers by creating new images, by creating new forms of communicating. One thing I really like for younger audiences, when your service desk have people around 24 years old, they love memes, which is like these jokes based on very common used images. To use them for communication. Maybe it's better to have a ticket status like that instead of just a text attached to an email, very planned email. Some ideas you can use. Another tools we can use, Cesar, please, that I use very often, is HiGen, especially when you have these self-service videos, right? But you don't have the studio, you don't have time, or nobody in your team is an actor. So nobody wants to record it. HiGen, you can create a script on ChatGPT, and then you can create self-service videos with someone talking and the screen of the system behind right out of the box. It's very interesting to use. Another one I use very often as well. You see, HiGen is for when there's a speaker, right? Rask.ai is something when you have these technical videos when there's no one appearing in the video. It's just like a screenshot or someone doing something. Click here, click there. And let's say that person is speaking English, but you have half of your team that speaks Spanish. Right away, you just add the Google URL. It will get the text. You said translate, and it can even clone the voice of your English presenter. So you see, the person who's presenting in English is going to have a very similar voice, but in Spanish or Hindi, whatever. So you see how fast and better experience we can provide for our customers with these LLM-based solutions. And this one, I love it very much. I use it very often with the first one I told you about, YouTube Summarize. Sometimes there's the YouTube video. I just wanted to summarize, then I summarize it on ChatGPT. Then I ask, look, create this summary but in a mark map model, which is a markdown, right? Then I get the output, just adding those to this website, and brings me this mind map of how the video is structured. So I can see, an easier way to understand what is this video about. Next one. Oh, this has been very, people love this one. There's a lot of meetings, right? We have meetings all day. We use this one. I use it very often, tactic, for summarizing meetings to get in the context of meetings. But what I like this one is that you can record meetings, not record in the sense of image and sound, but you get the text of people who have spoken in the meetings. And you can do it by yourself. I mean, it doesn't have something that you have to warn people or something. There's some strange there in your presentation. It just stay there in your Google, and it's getting all what people are saying during the meeting. And afterwards, after the transcript is ready, you can ask questions as if it was an LLM. So you can ask them to do a short summary, action items, and even you can remember things. What did I say about this topic in that meeting? You can ask it, and it will bring it up to you, something you might have forgotten. So many meetings, right?
And Fernando, works well to virtual meetings and for presential meetings as well.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe you can go there and feel something in the text, but it's amazing because you see how many things you just forgot. Well, that's what we brought here, and the idea is how to use artificial intelligence on ITSM. We show you some directions, some situations, but we like to tell you that we are using a lot, and we are helping a lot of companies in putting those tools on their lives, and what makes us very successful is the result. They're pleased for using those kind of content and such tools to increase the speed and to make their life better. And our final thoughts?
Well, a very good thing that we have to have in place is governance, right? So when we have generative AI governance, we must think of it, like I talked before, think of these LLMs or even local models as part of your CMDB. There cannot be just something that is there. It has to be connected to other CIs, services, which services are supported by this LLM, and things like that, right? Etc. If you want to take this one as well.
Yeah, well, and it's not supposed to be a only one initiative. As much as people are involved with this, as bad it's going to be. And it's an emerging technology. So you need to understand what fits well in your life and what doesn't. And you need to be above AI. You need to do governance. Governance makes sense for such expenditure. That makes sense at all. And what we can see, most people are using AI not as good as they're supposed to be, because they're not putting on your job, your daily process of work. That makes sense. That's all about. And I like to thank for myself for your time here to see our presentation. And we like to let from my part free to talk with us. And Fernando, your final words.
I always tell people, think of these technologies as a co-creation of a new form of working. It's not only doing some more or faster, it's about co-creating a new form of working. So you have to have that in mind. It's not about creating something faster. So I hope with these some ideas we brought to you guys, it enhance your daily routines, and we're here to talk and discuss. Follow us on LinkedIn and connect with us. It will be a pleasure to connect with you guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you, Cesar, and all the team here, Andy, and thank you very much.